The summer break is over. It's finally back to business. It's been 2 months since our last round of the ADAC GT Masters. We were last at Zandvoort in early July. Sadly, the floods that hit Europe and particularly the Eifel region in Germany meant that the Nürburgring round had to be postponed. So 2 months later, we're finally back on the road as we head towards part 2 of the season. You look there at the pole sitter of today's race. It's the first of 2 races this weekend here at the Lausitzring. 14 races in total make up the season. This is race 7. So after today, we will have our half-time champions in the ADAC GT Masters, the category that is running for the International German GT Championship. So it's good to have you along. Weather conditions are variable. We had an interesting qualifying session this morning. In the 20-minute session, it started to rain during that period. Ricardo Feller went out early and got that car onto pole position. The rain started to come and the track got slower. Then the rain stopped and the track sped up a bit. And it looked for a moment as though Raffaele Marciello might be able to steal pole position away. But in the end, P4 was the best that Marciello could do. So it was Ricardo Feller who gets pole position, Mirko Bortolotti alongside, and that man there, third on the grid, Lucas Stoltz, who shares driving duties with Mauro Engel. And they will be casting their minds back to this event last year. It was the first of 2 events here at the Lausitzring, and they won race 1 on the Saturday. And they'll be looking to do exactly the same again from third on the grid. Our championship leaders, Mikael Amamuller and Matteo Jaminet, start back 7th on the grid, which is not a long way back, but they've still got an awful lot of work to do. A less than successful race 2 at Zandvoort last time out saw their giant championship lead eaten away. And suddenly, Maxi Buch and Raffaele Marciello are nibbling at their heels. They are just 7 points behind in the championship trace. Third place in the championship standings is Christopher Mies and our pole sitter Ricardo Feller. They have 69 points, and one of the great things about the ADAC GT Masters is how closely matched the field is. We have 6 manufacturers in the top 6 places, and they are all separated by just 15 points, so it really is all to play for. Mikael Amamuller and Matteo Jaminet, driving for SSR Performance, are looking to become the first team to ever successfully defend their title in the ADAC GT Masters. But it really is a competitive field, and although they lead the championship hunt at the moment, anything could happen. So we're at the Lausitzring. We're using the shorter of the courses available. It is 3.478 kilometers around, which equates to about 2.16 miles. 12 turns, 7 to the left and 5 to the right. We look there, Raffaele Marciello, very much the star of qualifying this morning as he set purple sectors despite a fairly damp track. Of the 12 turns, I think we just mentioned, 7 to the left, 5 to the right. One of the things unusual about this circuit is the fact that we run in an anti-clockwise direction. We are, of course, at the Lausitzring Tri-Oval. We're not using the whole Tri-Oval, you'll be pleased to know. We are using part of it, though. Fantastic facility here, the big banked corners. So the pit straight and out of turn 5 using part of the Tri-Oval. We also have the infield section that we are using for this race. We're located at Klettwitz in the state of Brandenburg in East Germany. We're about 100 kilometers south of Berlin and about 63 kilometers from the beautiful Dresden. So this circuit, which is opened in August 2000, is a wonderful facility to be at. And this, the ADAC GT Masters, the first of 2 races this weekend, race 1 today and race 2 tomorrow. You can see that the grid is lined up. Well, they're in the Le Mans type start against the pit wall as we look at Klaus Bachler, who starts from P6 on the grid. Just before that, you saw Nick Yellowly, and he is driving the Schubert Motorsport BMW. and he lines up 5th on the grid. The cars just lined up, a magnificent sight, and very, very soon the engines will fire into life and there will be a roar around this Lausitzring arena. Great to welcome some spectators back, not the full capacity yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Some spectators are back, and for the first time since 2019, they've been able to meet the drivers and go into the paddock. So normality, we just hope it's coming very, very soon. We're here at the Lausitzring, then we head off to the Sachsenring at the beginning of October, so not long to wait till that, the 1st to the 3rd of October, then Hockenheim for round 6, and then the season closes in November at the Nürburgring, and that's the event that has been moved from what should have been an August date to November. Always quite exciting, a late season event at the Nürburgring. Who knows what we might expect? Just bring your snowshoes just in case. That will be the season closer. You can see the drivers have been given the instruction to start their engines, and very, very shortly they will be starting on their formation lap. We've got a new lineup in the number 74 car, the KUS Team 75 Bernhard Porsche. Janis Fitcher has moved aside, and Joel Eriksson is in his place, and Julian Andlauer is sitting in for Dylan Pereira. And Julian Andlauer, a veteran in Porsche racing. He's the 2017 Porsche Carrera Cup French champion and the 2019 Porsche Carrera Cup German champion, and he is sharing driving duties in the number 74 car with Joel Eriksson. It's good to welcome Joel Eriksson back. Last year he was running in the Schubert Motorsport BMW, so a fairly different animal that he's going to be taming this time around, but very welcome. Janis Fitcher has moved across into the number 91 Team Use Sportwagen Technique Porsche and is accompanying David Jahn, and he replaces Marco Holzer in that team. Right, engines are running, cars are rolling, we are starting the formation lap. It's been a long time, but finally we can say it's time to get back racing for the ADAC GT Masters, race 7 of 14. We've got some great cameras on board. That's the view from Kim Louis Schramm. And this lap, this is the shortest course in the ADAC GT Masters season, just 3.478 kilometers. So not much time to get heat into the tyres and into the brakes. Let's take a look at the starting grid. And as we previously mentioned, it's Riccardo Feller on pole position with Mirko Bortolotti alongside in the GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Then it's an all-Mercedes second row, Lucas Stoltz with Raffaele Marciello alongside. Keep an eye on both of them, they're going to be very strong. Nick Yellowly and Klaus Bakula, there's a new one, line up on row 3, and row 4, Mikael Ammermuller, defending champion, alongside Thomas Preining in the KUS Team 75 Bernhard Porsche. That's an all Porsche row there as well. Then Igor Velilko, good qualifying, alongside the Soul Corvette, which has been driven by Jeffrey Schmidt. Sven Muller and Yusuf Owega make up row 6, and row 7, Mike David Ortman and David Jahn for Team Use Sportwagen Technique. Row 8, Charles Viet, a long way back for him, and Maximilian Paul. And row 9, Joel Eriksson, Rolf Inaiken. Row 10 will pop up shortly, Kim Louis Schramm, you just saw from his camera, and Maximilian Hacklander. Then Luxander Treves and Sebastian Asch on row 11. Row 12, Simon Riker and Ilya Earhart. And the rear of the grid, Henrik Still and Florian Spengler. The cars are side by side. The safety car is about to peel off into the pit lane. And we have 1 hour of racing ahead of us. This is it. It is the race 7 of the 2021 ADAC GT Masters from Lausitzring. The green lights are on and we are racing. The cars fan out, the ground shakes. Riccardo Feller, an epic start, leads the field into turn 1. 4 abreast behind. Are they all going to make it? One of the KUS cars, the number 75 Porsche, kind of half spun, gathers it all up. There's cars onto the grass. That turn 1 is always very, very tricky, and getting 26 cars around there is a bit of a challenge. The cars all are pointing in the right direction. They've all made it through the first corner. You can see Riccardo Feller weaving slightly. It's Lucas Stoltz that's jumped up into second place. Mirko Bortolotti dropping down into third, and that looks like Yellowly, who's gone spinning behind it is, and this is the view from Nick Yellowly. So he has gone spinning as well, and that will not do his championship hopes any good whatsoever. So Yellowly's dropped back. We should see a replay of that shortly. The first three breaking away though. It's Riccardo Fella, and an awful lot of jostling for position further back. So Fella from Stoltz and Bortolotti, and then a gap back to Raffaele Marciello. The rest of the cars coming around and sorting themselves out. So just to remind you, we have 1 hour of racing, and all of the cars will be required to come in for a mandatory pit stop and driver change, and the pit stop window will open 25 minutes into the race and remain open for 10 minutes. So it was Thomas Preining in the number 75 car that went spinning. You can see that it's under investigation. It was down at turn 6, and also at turn 1, incident being investigated, and into turn 1 they come here. It is very, very tight, bit of a pinch point on the track, and the 75 car of Thomas Preining is into the pits. So whether there's damage, or it looks like they're pushing the car back into the garage. So that's a very short afternoon for Thomas Preining and the KUS team Bernhard Porsche crew, and that is our championship leader going spinning. So Mikael Ammermuller, there was a bit of contact there, and he is pointing. Well, he's pointing in the right direction now, but the entire field comes streaming through. So this is high drama indeed, because our championship leader, who was running 7th on the track, Mikael Ammermuller, has suddenly been turned around and is now at the back of the field. So this has big implications on the championship. So the 92 car rejoins. Now whether he's got any damage or not, well, we shall see. It doesn't look like it, but Mikael Ammermuller, an awful lot of work to do from all the way back there. Matthias Jaminet is going to be taking over the driving duties, and suddenly has got a big task ahead of him as well. Here comes Riccardo Fella, 1.2 seconds over Lucas Stoltz. So Fella, who won from pole position last time out in the first race of the weekend at Zandvoort, as Charles Witt comes under pressure, and that is Kim Louis Schramm, who looks to the side of him. So Riccardo Fella won from pole position in race 1 at Zandvoort, looking to do exactly the same. Ran with very low fuel in qualifying this morning, and got his hot lap in quite early on before the weather closed in. And there's another Porsche v Porsche. That's David Jahn in the number 91 car, one of the Precoat Herbert Motorsport Porsches. That is Sven Muller in the 99 car. So the stewards have got an awful lot of work on their plates already, because several incidents under investigation, and we'll keep an eye on the screens and let you know if there's any development on those. But our championship leader is a long, long way back, Mikael Ammermuller, and we're riding on board with him. This is a replay. So Ammermuller, who's showing down in 24th place now. And this was the view on board. And we're just going to see what happened. I'm not sure, but that's another one. Another championship favourite, Charles Witt, into the pits. So there's been contact for the number 32 car as well. Charles Witt, who is sharing with Dries Vanthoor. That car is looking damaged. Now, whether that's a puncture or not, or whether it's something more than that, but he got together with Youssef Awega in the Phoenix Racing Audi, and Charles Witt disappearing off across the grass. You saw debris flying, so it looks as though the team WRT Audi has got some serious damage, and into the pits. It doesn't look like there's any rush to do anything with that car, so clearly his afternoon is over as well. So a number of the championship favourites falling by the wayside, and we're only 6 minutes into the race. That's quite impressive, really, isn't it? Riccardo Fella leading the way, and of course when you qualify a long way down the pack, you do put yourself in the position, and Charles Witt, who started down in 15th place, was in the action, and got involved in an incident, and his afternoon is over. So 1.2 seconds is the gap between first and second. We're looking again at the replay from Mikael Ammermuller. That's the one we were hoping to see, and it looked like a tap from the Precoat Herberth Motorsport Porsche. So Porsche v Porsche, and Nick Yellerly, this was the view from him. And he too getting turned around, and it looked as though that might have been Ammermuller who helped him around. We need to see that from the outside. But certainly some serious stock car racing going on here. Right, this is the view from Ammermuller. And we can see the number 99 car just looking to the inside. And I can't tell from that angle whether he had the line into the corner or not, but Sven Muller in the number 99 Porsche certainly having big implications on the championship. It's been referred to, the Wirtz and Avega incident has been referred to the stewards, who have already got an awful lot on their plate this afternoon, and yet more to look at. So, high drama indeed. Now we take stock of all that's happened. It's Riccardo Feller who leads the way from Lucas Stoltz by 1.6 seconds. Mirko Bortolotti looking pretty solid in third place, with Raffaele Marciello, Klaus Bachler, David Jahn, Sven Muller, Mike David Ortmann, and Ortmann having a good race. He up in 8th place. So no further action from the incident in turn 1, but there's still plenty more to be looked at, and a drive-through penalty for car 99. So Sven Muller, a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. So another of the championship hopefuls, Sven Muller in the 99 car, is going to have to drive through the pit lane, keeping to the speed limit, and that'll be 7th place, certainly out of the window for him. He's going to drop a long way down the order. And that is for that incident that saw Mikael Ammermuller turned around. So, car 99 will be visiting the pit lane within the next few laps. That, of course, will promote Mike David Ortmann up into 7th place, who really is having a great day of it so far. So, Riccardo Feller still leads the way. And 1.7 seconds, so he's opened up about a 10th from Lucas Stoltz. Mirko Bortolotti in 3rd, Raffaele Marciello in 4th, and Klaus Bachler in 5th. Then David Jahn, having a good race. The Team Use Sportwagen Technique Porsche featuring very well indeed. 6th place has been his best so far this year, looking to equal that. And Mikael Ammermuller is now working hard to make up that progress. You can see up to 21st place already. The SSR Performance Porsche, very rapid indeed. There's a reason why that is the car at the top of the championship, but working through the traffic, keeping out of trouble. He and co-driver Matteo Jaminet have got about 50 minutes to get that car back into a points-paying position. So there it is, the 92 SSR Performance Porsche, currently showing in 21st place. Florian Spengler is the next car up the road, and Spengler is about a second ahead, so about 1 second, and one would think that it won't take Ammermuller too long. Here comes Muller to serve his drive-through penalty. He needs to keep to the speed limit, and his heart will no doubt sink as he sees the rest of the field come through, and this is why he got that drive-through penalty. An optimistic move on the number 92 Porsche, and it sent Ammermuller spinning and has cost him dearly. And of course, Mikael Ammermuller, who is sharing with Matteo Jaminet, had a race to forget the last time out at Zandvoort Race 2. Matteo Jaminet was in 7th place then as well, and right in the closing stages ended up spinning into the gravel trap and scoring no points. Going into the Zandvoort weekend, it looked like Ammermuller and Jaminet were going to have the championship sewn up by about round 5, so their progress has certainly been slowed. Ricardo Feller leading the way, 1.6 seconds. And then Lucas Stoltz, Mirko Bortolotti, and about a second and a half separating them. So the first 3 fairly well spaced out. The view from Kim Louis Schramm in the Rutronic Racing by Teke Audi in 10th place. And Schramm looking to improve on a 2nd place, which they scored at the Red Bull Ring back in June. So things settling down a little bit, but of course that's all going to change shortly, because when the clock strikes 35, which means we're 25 minutes into the race, the pit window will open, and then there will be a 10-minute window in which drivers will be required to come in for a mandatory stop and driver change. And of course strategy is going to be a key factor. If a car is running in traffic, it may be advantageous to bring the car in for the pit stop early and get the car back out onto clear track. And if the car is running with an open track in front, then it might be better to go later in the window. Now, Nick Yellerly, who you're looking at there, up to P11, so he is making really good progress after that earlier spin. Nick Yellerly working his way back through the pack. P11, ahead of him is Kim Louis Schramm, and Kim Louis Schramm is about 1.9 seconds ahead. So Nick Yellerly working hard to recover from that awful beginning to the race. Ricardo Feller continues to stretch his legs. 2.139 seconds is that lead. So we're keeping an eye on Yellerly as he brings the BMW back up through the pack. And you can see from the graphic there, he's taking chunks out of Kim Louis Schramm ahead of him on every lap. Another car having to work his way back. Mikael Ammermuller up to 20th place. He's caught Florian Spengler, didn't take him too long. So if he can dispatch Florian Spengler, that'll be 19th, and then ahead of him will be Maximilian Hacklander. So Mikael Ammermuller with a lot of work to do through the traffic. Behind him is Henrik Still and Sven Muller. Sven Muller having served that drive-through penalty, now down in 22nd place. The drive-through penalty having a very damaging effect on his race, and effectively putting him out of certainly any decent points-paying positions. So incident on turn 6, lap 1, involving car 10 and 92. We saw that on screen. That's obviously a fairly old message. We'll keep an eye if there are any more penalties to be awarded. So out of turn 12, we see the cars come a banked corner, and that allows the drivers to carry a lot more speed onto the pit straight, picking up a slipstream as they head past the pits. Here's Ammermuller looking to the inside of the number 69 Florian Spengler car. This is the view from Mikael Ammermuller. Great camera shot. And now looking back, sails past the Audi with relative ease, and Spengler not really putting up much of a battle. So Ammermuller up another position. That's up to 19th. Next up ahead is Maximilian Hacklander. He is in the Porsche. So looking back at Florian Spengler, and Ammermuller should pull away from the number 69 Audi fairly easily. So we're at the Lausitzring, and the weather conditions are good at the moment. It has been very changeable this weekend, been very hot and sunny at times. There are thunderstorms in the area, and we've had some fairly large ones. Doesn't look like we're going to have any dramas during this race. So we're fairly optimistic it's going to stay dry. And Riccardo Fallo will certainly want that, because he's leading this race now by a little over 2 seconds from Luca Stoltz and Mirko Bortolotti. And that is your 1, 2, 3. Onto the pit straight, picking up slipstreams as they head into turn 1, the corner that often causes controversy, and Sven Muller looking at the Henrik Still Zach Speed Mercedes, trying to find a way forwards, but down in 22nd place and well out of the points at the moment. The points pay back to 15th place. So Mikael Ammermuller and Sven Muller both out of the points. Nick Yellerly still in 11th, so he's in the points, albeit fairly low down, in fact into 10th place, because Yellerly has passed Schramm now, and homing in on Rolf Nijken, who is in 9th place. So we're about 8 minutes away from the pit window opening. There you can see the 75 car, Thomas Preining and Christian Engelhardt will not be getting a drive. We're having a look at the replay of the start. We can see what happened to the 75 car. And you can see he just got caught up with the Corvette and looked like he got clipped as well. And that's probably what did the damage. And it was just too many cars into a small space. And it was Jeffrey Schmidt at the wheel of the Callaway Competition Corvette. And Schmidt, who is a little way down. In fact, Schmidt is showing on our screens as out of the race, or certainly down in 26th. Yes, so Schmidt never made it past that. So Jeffrey Schmidt, while we were looking at everything else, looks like he has retired from the race, and that is a real shame as well. The one and only Corvette in this race, caught up in that squeeze into turn 1. Something of a pinch point as they all funnel in from the wide straight into that corner, and it certainly cost quite dearly in this race. There's Ammermuller, 19th place. Maximilian Hacklander just ahead in 18th, and ahead of him is Simon Riker. And here is Sven Muller in 22nd, bearing down on Henrik Still in the Zach Speed Mercedes, but still a long way off the points. And Muller down in 22nd is going to really struggle to pick up any points at all this afternoon, as is Robert Renauer, who shares driving duty with him. Out of turn 12 they come. It's front-engine Mercedes versus rear-engine Porsche onto the pit straight in the afternoon sunshine, and down in towards turn 1 they come, but not close enough to make a move. So Sven Muller continues on in 22nd place. Great camera shot on the wall, and you can see how close to the wall they get here at Lausitzring. That solid concrete wall is very solid and doesn't move for anybody, and they rub right up against it, driven with precision. Right, you can see the gap now for Ammermuller to Hacklander. Hacklander in 18th place. Ammermuller still desperate to get back into the points. So, a drive-through penalty for the championship leaders. Mikael Ammermuller is going to be visiting the pits after a collision with Nick Yellerly. So the stewards have taken their time to look at that, and understandable, they need to get that right, because this is massive for the championship. Our defending ADAC GT Masters champions, our current points leaders, and Mikael Ammermuller is going to have to visit the pit lane for a drive-through penalty for that contact with Nick Yellerly that we saw early on. So that hard work getting up into 19th place is going to count for nothing, because the 92 car will be pretty well stone last once he's served a drive-through penalty. You can see up ahead of him Maximilian Hacklander and Simon Riker, and they're currently fighting for 17th place. Ammermuller is getting involved, but very shortly he is going to have to come and visit the pits. So that is high drama indeed. So really a nightmare race for Mikael Lammermuller. That earlier incident that saw him pointing in the wrong direction and then being judged to have caused a collision. And the SSR Performance Porsche surely is not going to be scoring any points this afternoon. So we're riding with Mikael Lammermuller, and he's still fighting for every position. Maximilian Hacklander looking to the left, looking to the right, putting the pressure on. But no doubt the news would have filtered through to him that he needs to serve that drive-through penalty. Out of turn 12 they come, and onto the pit straight. You can see a little graphic there on the corner of your screen, and just while we have a moment to tell you that for each completed race lap, that's by all the GT Masters vehicles, BWT and the ADAC are jointly donating €4 to the Be Water mission. The Be Water mission builds wells in primarily rural areas in Gambia and Tanzania to ensure the access to clean drinking water. And that graphic is just telling you about that, and lots of money being generated and donated to the Be Water mission, and a very, very worthy cause. BWT doing a great job with their involvement here at the Lausitzring and in the ADAC GT Masters. Right, you're looking there at the SSR Performance Garage. That's Mathieu Jaminet getting ready to take over the driving duties of the number 92 car, but he's got a lot of work to do there, and we're looking again at a replay of what caused that penalty, and it was Mikael Lammermuller making contact with Nick Yellowly. The stewards would have looked at these videos and decided that that was optimistic driving by Mikael Lammermuller. So Mathieu Jaminet is going to be jumping in the seat of the 92 car, and he's got an awful lot to be dealing with because Mikael Lammermuller has not had his best afternoon driving that car. As things stand at the moment, he hasn't been in for his drive-through, so he continues on his way. But he will need to serve that before too long, or the stewards may have something else to say about it. So Mathieu Jaminet will be inheriting a whole bag of problems when he jumps in the seat of the SSR Performance Porsche. So ahead of Lammermuller is still the Hacklander and Simon Riker battle. Hacklander looking to the inside of Simon Riker. It's Porsche versus Audi, and a Porsche behind as well. And we'll look to see if Mikael Lammermuller comes in this time around to serve that drive-through penalty. At the moment, Simon Riker holding off Maximilian Hacklander, doing a great job, and withstanding all sorts of pressure. And here comes Lammermuller into the pits for that drive-through. So he peels off into the pit lane, has to hit the speed limiter, and comes through. And that is really pretty well going to put the lid on the afternoon for Mikael Lammermuller. Now, of course, a safety car at some point during this race would help enormously, because that would bunch the cars up. But without the aid of a safety car, Mathieu Jaminet, who will be taking over before too long, is going to struggle to get points. So that's the drive-through penalty served. And now Mikael Lammermuller rejoins the track. The pit window is now open. So we've got a 10-minute window, and during this, every car on the track will need to visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. So just to remind you that there is a minimum pit stop time of 70 seconds. So every car that comes into the pits is timed from pit entry to pit exit, and must not go below the 70 seconds. If they do, they may pick up a penalty. Also a good opportunity to remind you of the penalty box as we see cars coming into the pits for their mandatory stop. The penalty box is out on the exit of turn 5 for this race, and we're hoping we're not going to see drivers visiting the penalty box. So Kim Louis Schramm into the pits. Mike David Altman's in, Igor Valilko, Kim Louis Schramm, Joel Eriksson, Sebastian Ash, Sven Muller. So they're all into the pits, and you can see it's a well-rehearsed routine. Kim Louis Schramm handing over to Dennis Marshall. There is Sebastian Ash, who will be giving way to Daniel Karlwitz, the 2013 GT Masters champion. And you can see your little timer on the side of your screen. The cars need to not reach the pit exit before that strikes 0. But of course, every second counts, because a second lost in the pits is going to have big implications out on the track. So out comes the GRT Grasser Lamborghini, the Zaxby Mercedes, and the Rutronic Audi, the KOS Team Bernhard Porsche, and the ADAC Motorsport Audi as well. So as Ricardo Feller continues to lead 2.3 seconds. In comes Nick Yellowly in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. He's going to be handing over to Jesse Krohn. So Nick Yellowly probably will be quite happy to get out of the car after the afternoon he's had so far, and we'll come back and do it all again tomorrow. So into the pits he comes. Here's Krohn helping Yellowly out. And of course, Nick Yellowly, who is also a development driver for the Aston Martin Formula 1 team, and has done a lot of work in a simulator for them to help them on their way, and drives a BMW in GT racing. I don't know which one he does in his spare time and which one's the full-time job, but we've got problems out on the track. That is car 4, Yusuf Awega, and it looks like the wheel has detached itself, because there's certainly no wheel on that wagon. The car, the number 4 car, Phoenix Racing. Now, has he smacked the wall? Let's have a look. Yes, he has. A bit of a tank slapper coming out, and the wheel and all of its accessories has parted company with the car. Now, the question is this going to bring out a safety car? Because there will be debris on the track, and the number 4 car will be stuck out on the grass somewhere. Now, one of the things that's new for this year is the full course yellow, and it might be that if we do need a safety car, rather than going for that, they will go for a full course yellow, which won't actually help the drivers who've incurred penalties. As we see the TopSport WRT Mercedes into the pits. That is Mauro Engel, who's taking over driving of that. Marciello's in, and Maxi Boog taking over the Manfilter Team Landgraf Mercedes AMG. So we're just looking out, no indication of any yellow flags or any safety cars or full course yellows for that incident with Yusuf Awega. So we're hopeful that there's not debris on the track and that we can continue on our way. So there's Maxi Boog and Marciello, who has been on top of his game all day today. Did a great job in the wet conditions of qualifying this morning to get it up 4th on the grid. You can see the yellow flags waving, but the race continues at full pace, so no full course yellow that's been shown that we're aware of. So the full course yellow was brought in this year to cover any incidents that might happen while the pit window is open, rather than bringing the safety car out. Obviously, bringing a safety car out when the pit window is open causes all sorts of problems. Right, our leader is into the pits, and it's Mirko Bortolotti who takes over. So Ricardo Feller into the pits for his stop. Christopher Mies takes over the driving duties on that car. Mirko Bortolotti in the number 63 GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Still yet to pit, and we'll hand over to Albert Costa Balboa. Klaus Bachler in second place will hand over to Simona Di Silvestro. So we're still waiting for them to come in. They've still got 4.5 minutes Car 54 is under investigation for a pit stop violation. That is Simon Riker and Norbert Seidler. So that could easily be not meeting the minimum pit stop time. So we'll keep an eye on that. But there's our race leader, Mirko Bortolotti. But to remind you, he has yet to come in for his mandatory stop and hand over to Albert Costa Balboa. Klaus Bachler in second place. And Rolf van Eycken in third. And then Maximilian Paul in fourth place ahead of Maximilian Hacklander. So 3 3/4 minutes left of the pit window. Our leader, Mirko Bortolotti, will need to pit within the next couple of laps. And you can see that when the pit stops are all done, it should, in theory, be Christopher Mies who takes up the lead of this race. There's your graphic to confirm that car 54 is under investigation. Now, one of the things that's been introduced for 2021 is the penalty box on the exit of turn 5. I started to mention it earlier. If a driver commits a violation that is not perceived to be a major violation, they may be asked to visit the penalty box, and it's a small box off the racing line, and the drivers will need to pass through it at 60 kilometers an hour, no more than 60 kilometers an hour through the penalty box. That is a penalty that is not as severe as a drive-through penalty, but still penalises a driver. Right, into the pits comes Klaus Bachler in the Precoat Herberth Motorsport Porsche. You can see that still Bortolotti in Eycken, Paul Hacklander still, and Ammermuller are yet to pit. So Klaus Bachler comes in to the pits, keeping to the speed limit. Here comes Simona Di Silvestro, and it was good to see her in the Indy 500 back earlier this year. So she's certainly showing her talents on both sides of the Atlantic. And Di Silvestro into the car. Klaus Bachler helping her to get buckled up, and his work is done as he walks away. And now just waiting for the clock. The pits here, the pit stops, very heavily regulated. Number of people that are allowed into the pit lane, speed limits, times, everything heavily regulated. Simona Di Silvestro pulls out of the pit box and rejoins. So we've still got 26.5 minutes left of this race. Here comes our leader. It's Mirko Bortolotti in the GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Now the question is, how much space has he been able to make out on an open track while everybody else was pitting? And will this be enough to close the gap on Christopher Mies, who is now going to be our race leader when everything is done and dusted? This is the only car that could potentially challenge that. So instructions being given, and it's Albert Costa Balboa who takes over from Mirko Bortolotti. So GRT Grasser in the Lamborghini. It's 2 years since a Lamborghini last won a GT Masters race. Is this going to be enough to do it? Last time in race 1 in Zandvoort, Albert Costa Balboa had a pit stop violation and ended up getting a drive-through penalty whilst he was leading the race, and that stole it away. You can see Christopher Mies passing through your picture there. So Costa Balboa is not going to be troubling the leader, and in fact Mauro Engel is now up into second place. So with the pit stops done and dusted, it is the number 22 Team TalkSport WRT Mercedes that jumps up into second place, the GRT Grasser Lamborghini that drops down into third. The yellow flag's still waving, and that is out on turn 6. And that's as a result of that debris from the Youssef Awega car. So the pit stop window is closed. All pit stops are done, and we can finally see what the order is going to be after the pit stops. It's Christopher Mies who leads from Mauro Engel, Albert Costa Balboa, Maxi Buch, Simona Di Silvestro, Jeff Clemens Schmid, not Jeffrey Schmidt, Clemens Schmid in the number 16, and the other GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghinis. And Clemens Schmid, who's been sharing with Mike David Ortman, but there's problems there for the Zach Speed car, and that's Jules Gounon, and the safety car is out. So we have the safety car out. Now, whether they were bringing the safety car out to the pit stop window had closed for that debris, but whichever way, Jules Gounon looks like he is going to go no further. Smoke pouring from the Zach Speed Mercedes. And the number 13 car will be coming back into the pits without a doubt. I say without a doubt, but has he actually missed the? He has actually missed the pit lane entrance, so maybe not without a doubt. There is a lot of smoke coming from that car. Clearly has been in the wars. So was showing in 10th place, and is now going to have to do another lap. Oh no, it's actually pulled off onto the runoff area up on the tri-oval. So it looks like the afternoon is over for Jules Gounon, who took over from Igor Vililko, and you can see the stewards instructing that car to come to a stop, and it might be that he's stopping somewhere near a fire extinguisher because there are flames under the bonnet of that Mercedes. Come on, he says, get here with a fire extinguisher. So good forward thinking by Jules Gounon, getting the car somewhere near a fire marshal. So it looks like that Mercedes engine has gone pop somewhere along the way. An awful lot of smoke and fire, and not going any further. And the Zach Speed team are going to have a lot of work to do overnight to get that car ready for race 2 tomorrow. While all that's been going on, the safety car is out. That will give them a chance to clean up the debris out on turns 5 and 6. And get the fire out on the number 13 car. But this, of course, will close the field up. And once again, it really brings a lot of drivers back into play who have been further down the order. So here comes the safety car. It's Christopher Mies who leads this race from Mauro Engel, Albert Costa Balboa in 3rd, Maxi Buch in 4th, Simone Di Silvestro in 5th, Clemens Schmid, Janus Fitcher and Jesse Krohn rounding out the top 8. And Jesse Krohn, who's taken over from Nick Yellerly, getting the car back up into 8th place after that earlier spin, is a Herculean effort indeed. Both Jesse Krohn and Nick Yellerly have done a fantastic job. So P8 at the moment, and with this safety car, potential to move up even further. Frank Pereira is 9th, and Dennis Marshall in 10th. 11th place is Hugo Sassa, and if he can finish there, that would be by far his best result of the season. He is the youngest driver in the series, and as you can see, the red flags are out. So the red flags are brought out. So the stewards have decided the race needs to be stopped. So that might be because of damage to the fence, or it might be just so that they can get, well, it would have taken a bit of work to damage that particular bit of fence. So the red flag is out, which means the cars will be brought back to the grid. So red flag seems is normally reserved for fairly major incidents. So clearly the stewards have decided that they need to get more officials onto the track, and it might be because that car has left an oil slick, and that's probably the reason for the red flag, because clearly the engine has let go on that. Let's have a look and see if we can see any fluid behind. And that might well be the reason for the red flag, because if there is an oil slick on the track, that will need to be cleaned up, and that will necessitate marshals onto the course. So the clock is still running in the corner of your screen. That should, in theory, have come to a stop under red flag conditions. So we will see what they decide to do with that. And yeah, you can see fluid running down the banking of the track from the number 13 car. Jules Gounon, who had taken over from Igor Velilko, was looking to improve on a best of a 4th place this season. It's so difficult for the drivers. You're into the rhythm, and you can see Gounon just talking into the intercom on his helmet. Quite a bizarre shot, really. So the race is at a pause, and there was a big impact there further back, so maybe that caused something to detach. You can see the damage on the front of the Zach Speed Mercedes, but the net result was flames under the bonnet, and you can see flames there. So a replay of Gounon just getting the hood off that Mercedes and talking into the helmet. So temporary silence falls on the Lausitzring while this is sorted out. At the time of the stoppage, it's Christopher Mies who was leading the race from Mauro Engel. And to remind you that Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz won this event last year, race 1 here at the Lausitzring. Of course, we visited the Lausitzring twice last year, once in the summer and once in the autumn. And it was Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel who won race 1, as we look at the Phoenix Racing Audi being loaded onto a truck, and Patrick Niederhauser is not going to get a ride in that this afternoon. So yes, race 1 last time out was won by Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel, and then Charles Witt and Dries Vanthoor won race 2. And then the second visit was the Monteplas by Land Audi that won race 1. At that time, driven by Max Hofer and Christopher Haase. Of course, Christopher Haase is in a Audi this time around as well, just not that particular one, and still with Monteplas by Land. And he is sharing with Luca Sandro Treves. And the second race last time round, or the 4th race that was here, if you will, was won by Mick Wieshofer and Dorian Boccolacci in the Zach Speed Mercedes, the car that we have just seen going up in smoke. So the drivers are out of the car. Listening in, just to see if we can pick up any information. So this stoppage will have helped the cars that have all had penalties, because Mathieu Jaminet, who took over from Michael Ammuller, is currently down in 20th place. Ahead of him is Robert Renauer, who took over from Sven Muller in 19th. And both of those drivers have served drive-through penalties and are at the back of the pack as a result of that, and are going to have to work their way forwards. But the stoppage means that all the gaps are gone and all the cars are bunched up together, and we expect to see both the 92 and the 99 Porsches making very rapid progress through the field once we get back under green flag conditions. The clock has been stopped at 21 minutes and 27 seconds. That's what it's been reset at. That was when the red flag came out. So we've still got about a little over a third of this race left. The pit stops have all been done. The mandatory stops have all been done anyway. So Mauro Engel, Lucas Stoltz driving the TopSport WRT car. Always dialed in very well here at Lausitzring. So we're just looking to see what work has been done on the circuit, and it's up towards turn 6, where the marshals are currently working. And I think it was a fair amount of fluid and oil that was deposited on the track by the Zach Speed Mercedes and potentially the Phoenix Racing Audi as well. And there you can see the race marshals checking the surface. Of course, safety is very important, and make sure that fluid is cleared up. And our race directors looking on as well. Sven Stopper, who is the new race director for the ADAC GT Masters this year, and it's been great to have him on board and bringing in a really good approach to stewarding, being as lenient as possible, I think it's fair to say, wherever, letting the drivers race without being too crazy on punishments, but also the ADAC chopper just flying over, picking up on incidents and dishing out penalties where necessary. But the penalty box has definitely been a great innovation this year, where drivers would often have served a drive-through penalty for a fairly minor incident in the past. Now the penalty box is much lesser penalty, and particularly in years gone by for drivers not meeting the minimum pit stop time, we'd seen pit stop drive-through penalties awarded, which would put the driver to the back of the field, whereas now the penalty box would normally mean that the driver would lose maybe 2 or 3 positions on track, but it wouldn't entirely wreck their afternoon. So a real innovation that's been brought in, and certainly our race director Sven Stopper has been heavily involved in the instigation of that. There's Jules Gounon walking back to the pits, and he's had a relatively short afternoon. He took over from Igor Vililko, who'd done a very good job, but now that car is out of the race. So the driver's out of the car.
I want to check this rim because there I had
Always good to try and listen into what they're saying. So you can see how much rubber has been picked up on that tyre. And the team working away. That car, the 54 car, was under investigation at the time of stoppage for a pit stop infringement. Nothing has been said further about that. That's the Yakko Racing Audi, so clearly some issues there. And permission being given to work on that car. So there is a real just a pause in the proceedings at the moment. It's all a bit bizarre. There's Mirko Bortolotti and Albert Costa Balboa swapping notes. And although they've dropped down from 2nd to 3rd, still a pretty good afternoon. And with Mathieu Jaminet and Mikael Almola having a fairly disastrous time of it, it's going to allow Bortolotti and Costa Balboa to close in on the championship hunt. Second in the championship coming into this event was Maxi Buch and Raffaele Marciello. Now they're currently lying 4th in this race, just behind Albert Costa Balboa. So we're having another look at the start. Magnificent sight here under the green lights, heading in towards turn 1, and we can see again the drama at the start. And we saw the 75 car being driven by Thomas Breining, getting turned sideways. And that's the view of the Nick Yellowly car. And as first corners go, this is certainly one of the harder ones, because you have the cars running 4 or 5 abreast even down the straight and then funneling in to this very tight racing line through turn 1. And you can see a fair bit of panel bashing going on by everybody, to be sure. Some great views, great camera shots. A splitter cam. And that was the back of the Charles WRT Audi that you saw up ahead. And this was at the very front of the pack. And looking back at the GRT Grassa Lamborghini and the Top Sport Mercedes. That was the first piece of controversy. It saw championship contender Yellerly turned around, and Ammermuller subsequently awarded a drive-through penalty. And there it is again from on board Mikael Ammermuller. And this will be the view from Nick Yellerly. And pretty lucky that he didn't get collected by any other cars coming around that corner. That was Youssef Ouega and Charles Witt getting together, and a bit of debris going flying. And then Youssef Ouega, that big impact into the wall, which saw the rear wheel becoming detached from the Audi, leaving debris all around turns 5 and 6, and bringing an end to his afternoon. So Jules Gounon's Zach Speed, BKK Mobil Oil Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, to give it its full title, on the back of the truck, now being taken back to the pits, and the Zach Speed team are going to have a busy evening ahead of them as they get that car ready for race 2, which will be tomorrow, and that will be race 8 of this 14 race season. We head to the Sachsenring, and that is at the beginning of October, so not too far away, for races 9 and 10. Then on the 22nd to the 24th of October, we head to Hockenheim, and that'll be for races 11 and 12. And Hockenheim, which was going to be the season closer, will now be the penultimate round, because the postponed Nürburgring event that was originally due to be held at the beginning of August, and of course was cancelled because of the dreadful floods in Germany and across Europe. The Nürburgring event has been rescheduled, and that will now be the season closer on the 5th to the 7th of November. And looking at the Nürburgring's record for weather at that time of year, that could be quite exciting. It's really good to be back racing. It's been a long gap. It's been the longest summer break we've ever had in GT Masters.
Und einmal winken bitte. Yes.
And good to have some waves at the cameras from the Top Sport team.
Also machen wir den alten drauf, fahren eine Runde raus und gleich rein, abstellen, Auto rein.
And the teams have been working hard. It's a nice new Pirelli there.
Wieder in die Box rein und stellen ab.
So the cars are very restricted in what they're allowed to do. The teams are very restricted in what they're allowed to do to the cars in pit stops and under red flags. So clearly there was an issue with the right rear on that number 54 car. And clearly putting that nice brand new tyre on was not an option. So it'll be Norbert Seidler who takes over the driving duties of that once we get going again. We're still waiting for confirmation as to when we can get this race going. Albert Costa Balboa is going to catch a bit of afternoon sun. It's actually turned out rather pleasant here at the moment. There are some black clouds around. Yesterday in free practice we had some good dry running, and then the heavens absolutely opened. Some heavy thunderstorms, and fortunately it was after racing had finished, but there are thunderstorms in the area. Mirko Bortolotti and Albert Costa Balboa, who share driving duties in the number 63 GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini. And it wasn't until we read it earlier this week that realised that it has been such a long time since Lamborghini last won a race in GT Masters. They've come so close, not least last time out at Zandvoort when it looked like Costa Balboa was going to win race 1. Apart from that drive-through penalty, as you can see, treatment on the track continues. And that is right up on the tri-oval, actually well out of the way of the racing, but still important to clear up all fluids in the runoff area. And there is the Zach Speed Mercedes, fairly unceremoniously taken off the track. So we've not had an official confirmation of when we will be back under green flag conditions. Hopefully not too long now. And you can see actually down on the pit straight, the marshals having to clean up quite an oil slick. So whatever happened to that Zach Speed Mercedes, and it appeared to be triggered by the contact that we saw early on. And maybe it's a detached oil line, maybe it was something bigger than that. But whatever it was, it's left an awful lot of oil and water. And the race director very wisely taking the decision to pause proceedings to allow that to be cleaned up. Because the car's running along the pit straight at high speed into that tight turn 1, hitting oil, and could cause all sorts of unnecessary dramas. So definitely a good move. Now in the background you saw a little sign there saying penalty zone, and that is the penalty box that we talked about earlier. It is just a small box that is about 200 meters. And that is the box that a driver would have to drive through at 60 kilometers an hour. It's off the racing line and has proven to be very effective in the previous 3 rounds this year. Nobody's had a visit of that during this race. We've had a car visit the penalty box, I think, in pretty well every race so far this year. So maybe, hopefully, this will be a race where that doesn't happen. We'll keep you updated as soon as we have any news of when we can go back to racing again. Don't go anywhere, though, because when we do get going, it's going to be exciting. Christopher Mies is going to be the leader of this race, but he will have the very rapid Mauro Engel and the equally rapid Albert Costa Balboa and Maxi Buch just behind. Simone Di Silvestro's up there as well. So it's Audi from Mercedes, from Lamborghini, from Mercedes, from Porsche, and then Clemens Schmid in P6. And that would be a great result for Clemens Schmid if he could finish in that position. He took over from Mike David Ortman. Their best result so far this year has been an 11th place at the Red Bull Ring, as we look at Simone Di Silvestro just out of the car at the moment. And Clemens Schmid, I think, would take 6th place if you offered it to him. The 91 of Janus Fitcher is in 7th place. And Janus Fitcher, who has taken over duties from Marco Holzer, and 6th place is the best that the 91 car has managed this year so far. And in fact, the Team U Sport Wagon Technique Porsche has been very rapid all year long and has been troubling the top 10 for much of the season. So, just listening in, always trying to pick up any information. Always a bit risky on live TV, listening to a conversation. You never know what's going to be said, but hey-ho. There you see the cars in the pit lane, getting ready to go on this Lausitzring circuit. It's a track that has rejoined the ADAC calendar after a few years away and has become a very welcome addition. I'm just looking out the window, and the marshals out on turns 5 and 6 have now cleared away, so it is just down on the pit straight now where the work is being done. So hopefully it's not too long, and there really is a long stretch that is being treated of fluid by the marshals here, the Orange Army, who do such a good job. So the Lausitzring has rejoined the ADAC schedule and has proven to be very popular. It is, as I've mentioned before several times, the shortest of the tracks on the ADAC calendar, even shorter than Oschersleben. And we're about 100 kilometers south of Berlin and about 63 kilometers from Dresden. Lovely place, Dresden. And of course, this circuit is a super speedway, a 2-mile tri-oval, and many discussions that I've had just in the last few days, all of us just mourning the fact that the tri-oval doesn't really get used. Wouldn't we just love to see IndyCar or NASCAR or something similar around here? Of course, it was built for that purpose back in the year 2000. Seems a long time ago, doesn't it? And it's now used very much as an automotive testing facility. The circuit was taken over by DECRA in 2017. You can hear crowd cheering in the background. And it's great to welcome a crowd back here again for this event. We've had so many GT Masters events in the last year, little over a year, that have been behind closed doors. And we are ever hopeful that the global situation continues to improve. As greetings from our race leaders at the moment. So the race leaders, Christopher Mies and Ricardo Feller. And Ricardo Feller, he did a good job this morning as the ADAC chopper flies over the circuit. So this morning we had rain in the air, and qualifying started. It was just a 20-minute qualifying session, and when the green light came on in the pits, literally every car came bursting out of the garage and onto the track. It was very dramatic because drivers knew that the track was probably only going to get slower as the session progressed, so getting out early was critical. The Monteplas by Land team short-filled the Audi, minimum amount of fuel in it, and Ricardo Feller came out, put in the hot lap, and then came back in the garage, switched it off and got out and said, okay, that's as good as it gets. And it was, and it looked like Marciello might have got closer towards the end of the session. It looked like Mirko Bortolotti might have done something about it, but it ended up that the Audi remained the pole sitter. So you can see the work still continuing on the pit straight. Awful lot of fluid being spread around, a lot more than we thought, and you can now see why it needed to be done under red flag conditions. This really is a fairly big cleanup operation. An awful lot of oil and water deposited onto the racing line. So back to our conversations about the Lausitzring, and we used 2 different configurations last year. This is the shorter of the courses. Last year, for the second visit here, there was the longer configuration. Turn 6 was further around the tri-oval, and there were, in fact, 14 turns in total. But this year we're back onto the shorter course. The circuit cost 158 million euros even back in 1999. Big operation, and it came into existence at about the same time that Rockingham was also built back in the UK. The two circuits pretty similar, tri-ovals. Sadly, Rockingham has also not been used. In fact, it's not even being used for any sort of racing now, very much a vehicle storage area. And for many of us who love our oval racing, that really is a tragedy, because there was so much potential. The attempts to bring IndyCar or even NASCAR or Eurocar to the UK just never really took off. We had a couple of good IndyCar races, both at Rockingham and here at Lausitzring, and it was very spectacular, but was never the success that the organisers had hoped for. And there are some stands in Rockingham, some grandstands with seats that have probably never been sat in, which is just crazy for such a wonderful facility. And I guess it just proves that something that's popular in America, an American style of racing, doesn't always transfer across the water into Europe. But it's good that we're coming to the Lausitzring. It's good that we're able to use parts of the tri-oval as part of this race weekend. And it's great this circuit exists. It's built on the site of an old coal mine. And we love coming here every year. Hopeful that we're going to come back here again next year. So we still wait. This has been a very lengthy red flag. And drivers still out of the cars. So if you're sticking with us, thank you for bearing with us. We hope to bring you some action fairly soon. If you have joined us late, it was Christopher Mies who was leading. He'd taken over from Ricardo Feller. But an incident involving the number 13 Zakspeed BKK Mobile or Mercedes with Jules Gounon at the wheel. He'd just taken over from Igor Valilko. An incident involving that car saw a lot of fluid spilled all around the track, a lot of oil, and a fairly lengthy cleanup operation has been required. When we do get going, we should have about 21.5 minutes of racing ahead of us, and it should be pretty dramatic, so it'll be worth the wait. Christopher Mies will have his mirrors full of Mauro Engel and Albert Costa Balboa, and Balboa particularly will be worth keeping an eye on in that Lamborghini as we look at the Mauro Engel helmet. And Mauro Engel, oh, there he is. Mauro Engel, something of an, I'll say, a veteran in GT3 racing, and was third in the 2020 championship with 1 win. He was the winner of the FIA GT World Cup in 2015 and has been a very valuable addition to the GT Masters ranks. So just to remind you, you see the BWT sign up there, and just to remind you that for each completed race lap by each GT Masters car, BWT and the ADAC jointly donate €4 to the Be Water mission. And the Be Water mission builds wells in primarily rural areas in the Gambia and in Tanzania to ensure access to clean drinking water. So really worthwhile, and some good funds that are raised. So we're getting news that the restart, we believe, will be at 17:50 local time. So that will be in about 10 minutes. So that is the estimation from race control, that the restart should be in about 10 minutes. There we go, confirmation on your screen. So you've got just enough time to go get yourself a cup of tea. While you're doing it, go get me one, will you? Because I'm just sat here chatting away to myself, enjoying the afternoon sunshine at the Lausitzring. And very shortly, well, hopefully in less than 10 minutes, we can bring you some racing. And that will be a wonderful thing to behold. The marshals having done a great job. There you go, the countdown clock is running. We are getting ready. So you got time to get a drink, and you got time to get back and check this out, because it will be worth the rate. As we look at Hugo Sasser, just about to put his balaclava on. Now, Hugo Sasser, congratulations to him. He passed his driving test back at the beginning of August. He is the youngest competitor, I believe the youngest person to have ever, in fact, raced in the ADAC GT Masters. And he, along with Maximilian Paul, who you saw just prior to him, are the youngest driver combination on the grid. So Hugo Sasser, who is 17 years old and has now been unleashed on the road. And Max Paul, who is 21 years old. So those two are in the number 71 car, which is the T3 HRT Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan. And currently Hugo Sasser showing in 11th place, so only one place off the points, and he would be delighted if he could make progress from there. His best result, along with Max Paul, so far has been a 15 or two 15th places. One was at Zandvoort last time out, and the other was on the opening weekend in Oschersleben.
No. Don't try anything.
No, don't
I'm
worry.
not racing
Don't
for the
worry.
championship, so I will turn it.
We have a big opportunity now with the Porsche out, so don't worry. It's okay, man.
Now that's very interesting. That's Albert Costa Balboa and Mauro Engel, and just basically saying, don't do anything stupid. That's quite interesting to hear them chatting there. So Mauro Engel, who's in second, Albert Costa Balboa in third. And Mauro Engel did say, I'm not racing for the championship. And he is a long way down the championship standings at the moment. And of course had that massive accident at the Red Bull Ring, which actually wrote the TopSport WRT Mercedes off. They had to get a brand new chassis for Zandvoort. It was a big impact and kind of set them off in the wrong direction for the remainder of the season. So the best so far that Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel have scored was a second place at Zandvoort last time out. They got a fifth at the opening round at Oschersleben, but a few no scores, and particularly that big accident at the Red Bull Ring has really taken them out of the championship hunt. Unlike that car there, the number 63, Albert Costa Balboa, they've had, along with Mirko Bortolotti, 2 second places. It was a non-finish in race 2 at Oschersleben. You remember, got together with Maxi Buch, if I remember rightly, ended up in the fence. But the 63 car, without a doubt, a championship contender, and would be leading the championship now had it not been probably for the drive-through penalty that Costa Balboa scored at Zandvoort last time out. Right, safety car driver is back on board. This is always a good sign. The drivers are getting back in the cars. We are a little over 5 minutes away from getting back racing. If you've stuck with us for the entire duration and listened to my inane ramblings, congratulations, I would give you a medal. We will be getting going very shortly, and we will continue with this race. There's no floodlights here, I don't think, so we need to do it before it gets dark. So, safety car driver is back on board. the track cleaning. I was looking out the window, and it looks as though there's just a little bit of brushing going on, but it looks as though the fluid has been soaked up. It's not raining yet. If we leave it long enough, maybe it will. And we will bring you the last 20 minutes of this race. So you can see there 2 laps behind the safety car, and that'll be to get some of the dirt and dust removed and allow the drivers to get heat into the tyres and the brakes, but also just to clean up the racing line a little bit. So we'll get those 2 laps done, and then we will be back with the final 21 minutes and 27 seconds of this race. It has been a marathon. It's felt a bit like an endurance race, hasn't it? But it will be worth the wait. So there are the cars lined up at the end of the pit lane. All mandatory stops are done. We're looking at the eBay box. It's been great, this event, getting the fans close to the action. And that is a box that actually looks out onto the pit lane. And fans have been able to get in for the first time since 2019 to get into the paddock and to get closer than ever to the racing. There's a big tower that looks down towards turn 2, and you can climb up that and watch racing from there. You can get into the garage and look out from the eBay pit box, and really great. The ADAC working so hard to get the fans closer to the racing. Lots of meet and greets with the drivers, and making this racing very accessible indeed. As Mikael Ammermuller reflecting on what has been a fairly troubled afternoon for him. Matteo Jaminet, who's taken over, is going to be starting this race, and the restart of it from stone last. We've lost 6 cars. Gilles Gounon was the last one. Youssef Owega, Lucasandro Treves, we lost somewhere along the way in the number 28 Montplace by Land Audi. Charles Viet we saw disappearing early on. Thomas Preining and Jeffrey Schmidt. And Jeffrey Schmidt didn't actually complete a single lap as a result of that collision into turn 1. So that leaves us with 20 runners, and at the front of the queue is Christopher Mies, Mauro Engel in 2nd, Albert Costa Balboa in 3rd, Maxi Buch in 4th, Simona Di Silvestro in 5th, Clemens Schmid in 6th, Janis Fitcher in 7th, then Jesse Krohn in 8th, who took over from Nick Yellerly, and that is the car that's been making the progress. Franck Pereira in another GRT Grasser Lamborghini in 9th. Dennis Marshall in the number 33 Audi in 10th. Hugo Sasser in 11th. Julian Andlauer, who is enjoying his first event in the ADAC GT Masters, in 12th. Pierre Kaffer in 13th. Daniel Kylwitz in 14th. Mick Wieshofer in 15th. Marcus Winkelhock in 16th. And then Norbert Seidler, Konstantin Skoll, Robert Renauer, and Matteo Jaminet. To remind you, there are also several championships that the drivers are racing for. Of course, there is the main drivers' championship, the junior championship. Kim Louis Schramm and Dennis Marshall currently leading that jointly with 148.5 points. And the leading junior driver is, just checking that one out, it's in fact our race would have been Ricardo Feller. So he will be the leading junior driver, even though Christopher Mies, who's taken over, is not a junior himself. So if they finish like that, Feller is going to take a big jump up the point standings. You can hear the engines are running. The leading team coming into the event was SSR Performance, but GRT Grasser are just 5 points behind. And in the trophy category, leading coming into this event was Florian Spengler with 135 points ahead of Rolf Eneiken. And Frank Pereira was who is now our leading trophy driver, and he is in 9th place. So the engines are running. The clock will very shortly start running as well, and finally we will get these laps, these 2 laps behind the safety car underway. You can see the clock has started running. Thank you for sticking with us. It's been a lengthy delay. It was necessary, but we are now back running again. So if you've enjoyed this, thank you very much. I take my hat off to you. But now we hope to reward you with some great racing from the ADAC GT Masters. We are 21 minutes away from the halfway point of the season. And the cars are on the first of 2 laps. A bit of a delay getting some of the cars out of the pit lane, but we're finally up and running. So it's Norbert Seidler who is slow away out of the pits. So he's going to have to just get his toe down and the cars behind just to catch up the queue of cars, because Seidler is just coming round turn 6, and this safety car is up around towards turn 10. But they'll all catch up shortly. 20 minutes left, and here you can see the safety car leading the cars through the dust. The track marshals having done a great job getting everything cleaned up. This is the view from the splitter of the Christopher Mies Audi. So that's the first lap done behind the safety car. And out along the pit straight, you can see where all the cleaning up had been done, and Mauro Engel just driving through that, which is what they want them to do, to try and shift some of that dust that's been put down to absorb the fluid that was on the track. So, all being well, next time around we should be back under green flag conditions. Lights are still on the safety car. Out towards turn 6 they come. And the cars that were slow out of the pit lane have now caught up with the queue, so we have all of the cars together. Lights are still on the safety car. So it might be we do one more lap before we go back to green flag conditions. So it does look as though we're going to get one more lap, because the lights are still on the safety car. Yep, and there you see, one more lap. So here we come again. You can see those dark clouds approaching on the horizon. This race might yet have a sting in the tail, as if there weren't enough stings already. So here we come, out on to the pit straight once again. So along past the pits, Christopher Mies, Mauro Engel, Albert Costa Balboa, Maxi Buch, and the rest of the field just behind. So we're just going to keep an eye on the screens, and we're ever optimistic that we will get the safety car in message popping up very shortly. A little over a quarter of an hour of this race remaining. That's a great shot, isn't it? That's not a real corner. Great camera shots up on the concrete barrier of the Lausitzring. Lights are still on the safety car. So it is important that the race director is happy that the track is safe and that it is safe to go back to green flag conditions. And it looks as though we may yet get another lap behind the safety car. It is high drama here, isn't it? So around they come, up towards turn 10. Safety car under heavy braking, leading the way. And around turn 11. And then up onto the tri-oval banking. And safety car still out on track. So we go again. So still, obviously, drivers not allowed to overtake. They must remain in single file. Looking back from the safety car at Christopher Mee's Audi. I'm sure he'd be happy if we spent the next 15.5 minutes behind the safety car, because this will really put him and Riccardo Feller right at the sharp end of the championship. The safety car driver just received a message, and he is in on this lap. Ladies and gentlemen, your patience has been rewarded. We are about to go racing. So the safety car lights will go off very, very shortly, and Christopher Mees will back the pack up. The 2016 GT Masters champion, who currently leads the way, will effectively be the pace setter of this race. It will be his decision when he wants to go. And his aim will be to catch Mauro Engel napping behind him. Albert Costa Balboa will want to get past both of them. So there goes the safety car. Up in towards turn 10 come the field of cars. So it's going to be 14 minutes of action for the ADAC GT Masters. It felt like an eternity. It was in fact an eternity, but at last we get going again. 14 minutes remaining. We are back under green flag conditions, and Mauro Engel is already lining up Christopher Mees heading into turn 1. Mauro Engel moving to the outside. Christopher Mees just holding on to that racing line. The rest of the cars come funneling through, tiptoeing through that corner. But Mauro Engel putting the heat on already. Maxi Buch in 4th place has got an eye on Albert Costa Balboa. And Simone Di Silvestro also in the hunt as well. It's still Christopher Mees who leads the way out in towards turn 5. And you can still see Mauro Engel just swerving to try and get heat into the tyres. There is a change for position. It's Clemens Schmid on the inside of Simone Di Silvestro. So Di Silvestro down into 6th place. Clemens Schmid continuing his impressive afternoon. Silvestro also now coming under pressure from Janis Fitcher in the number 91 car, and look who's in the background is Jesse Krohn, and he'll be looking to get past both of these. So Di Silvestro not finding a lot of pace on the restart. There's our championship leader at the very back, Matteo Jaminet, still at the back of the pack. 74 car, Julian Andlauer getting stuck in. Hugo Sassa just in front of him. Out of turn 12 they come along the pit straight. And it's Christopher Mees who's held off the attention of Mauro Engel for the time being. Has Mauro Engel got anything else? They've broken clear of Costa Balboa just a little bit. There's the 33 of Dennis Marshall moving to the inside as well. And past Julian Andlauer. And this is the view from on board with Dennis Marshall. In fact, didn't quite make it past Andlauer. So Andlauer in front, Marshall just behind. And we got more problems. And would you believe it, it's Matteo Jaminet once again who's involved. And looked like Robert Renauer in there. So some drama, it looks like. All the cars have got involved. Also in there was the 69 of Marcus Winkelhoff. So the 99 and 92 cars have been in the wars all afternoon. Both have served the drive-through penalty and both look to have got involved. They've rejoined at the back of the pack, and Winkelhock has got caught up as well with it. So yeah, it's more drama, and that incident is under investigation. So the SSR Performance Porsche and the Precoat Herberth Porsche, but it was actually the number 14 car that turned around the 69 car, and Jaminet and Renauer were just innocent bystanders who got involved, made contact, and the SSR Performance Porsche once again in the wars. So it was Mick Wieshofer in the MRS GT Racing Porsche who got together with Markus Winkelhock, and they went to spinning, and the two Porsches at the back of the pack got involved as well, and I think it's fair to say that they can't be held responsible for anything that happened there. Look at those dark clouds that are approaching. We are with Maxi Buch in 4th place. Christopher Mees leads the way. Mauro Engel in 2nd. About 0.7 of a second ahead of Albert Costa Balboa, who's in 3rd. Then it's Maxi Buch, Clemens Schmidt, who has been really, along with teammate Mike David Altman, very much driving the day. But that is Simona Di Silvestro into the gravel trap, and this is surely going to bring out another safety car, because that number 7 car is not going to go anywhere. It's Simona Di Silvestro who's stranded, and yes, the safety car is out. Would you believe it? Simona Di Silvestro, who is stranded out on track, out at turn 8. So yet more drama. So that incident, or the incident between Winkelhock and Wieshofer, is under investigation, and you do wonder if we're ever going to get this race run. The clock continues, because behind the safety car the clock doesn't stop. The clock only stops under red flag conditions. So Di Silvestro is stranded out in the gravel trap on turn 8. So they will be dispatching a unit to go and drag that one off as quickly as possible. So up by where the cars are just passing now is where Di Silvestro is. And the other of the Precoat Herberth Motorsport Porsches goes past. That, of course, with Robert Renauer at the wheel. So, without a doubt, a day to forget for Precoat Herberth Motorsport. It looks like neither of their cars are gonna be able to score points this afternoon, certainly not that one. So, once again, the safety car is out. This will not take long to move, and once again the cars are brought down to a crawling pace by their standards, and when the Di Silvestro car is removed, this really is going to be a dash for the cash. This might not be the last safety car we see this afternoon. You know what they say, safety cars breed safety cars, and you can see some drivers who can see some points on offer, and I tell you who gets an award for the best recovery. It's Jesse Krohn in 7th place, and Nick Yellerly in the number 10 Schubert Motorsport BMW, 7th place, having had that spin at the start of the race. You do wonder what they might have done had they kept it pointing in the right direction. Not that it was their fault, but still, you can see the number 7 car now being dragged out of the gravel trap, which is good news. Not entirely sure how it got there, but it does look as though it was probably a mechanical issue. We saw the wheels not turning as it was being dragged out of the gravel trap. Looking across at Christopher Mies, who leads this race. A race that started about 3.5 days ago by my reckoning and is still going now. We've still got a little under 6.5 minutes left of it. Christopher Mies, who took over from Ricardo Fella and has led between them every lap apart from the pit stop window laps, has led the entire way. So important to keep heat in the tyres, and with the temperature falling outside, still showing at 22 degrees actually, but the afternoon sunshine moves off from the track surface, so keeping heat in the tyres is important. Unbelievably, despite that impact, Mathieu Jaminet has made it up to 16th place and is only 1 place away from getting it back into the points, which is no mean feat when you consider the adventure that the number 92 SSR Performance Porsche has been through this afternoon. The many adventures. So it looks to me as though the Silvestro Porsche has been moved to safety. So we now keep our eyes on proceedings. It's the safety car is going to have to complete this lap, but I'm ever hopeful that the next time around we will see the green flag for the last few minutes of this event. The GT Masters 7th endurance event, racing for the International German GT Championship at the Lausitzring in the early autumn sunshine. And long may the sunshine continue, because we do not need rain in the next few minutes to mess things up even more. So looking back from the safety car, out of turn 12, off the banking. Not quite the steep banking of Zandvoort, but still banking nonetheless, and we all like banking. So across the start-finish line they come once more. Right, we heard that radio message in the background. It said safety car in this lap. We almost heard that, didn't we, from the microphone in the safety car. So once again, it will be Christopher Mies who backs the pack up and becomes the pace setter of this race. At the moment, he's running very close to the safety car as they head around turn 6. But in a moment, the safety car will disappear off into the distance and control of the race will be handed over to Christopher Mies, who will lead the queue across the line once again for the final 3 minutes or so of this event. The clouds in the distance are threatening, but we are ever optimistic that it's not going to rain in the next 3 minutes. So Mies backs the field up. Safety car disappears off into the distance. So can Mauro Engel do anything about the lead that the Monteplas by Land Audi has held since the beginning of this race? And as you can see, car 14 has picked up a drive-through penalty for that incident that we saw earlier. That's Mick Wieshofer. Wieshofer, who's currently down in 14th place, so that'll drop him out of the points and will actually move Mathieu Jaminet, championship leader, into the points. So that's significant in itself. We're back under green flag conditions. Once again, it's Christopher Mies who leads into turn 1. Engel looks to the inside, switches to the outside, and no position changes there. Jaminet moving forwards from further back. So Christopher Mies leading, Mauro Engel in second, it's Albert Costa Balboa in third, Maxi Buch in fourth, and then Clemens Schmid. So 2 GRT Grasser Lamborghinis in the top 5. There's the number 33 of Dennis Marshall around the outside. Daniel Karlowitz in there as well. The two cars rubbing as they go through. And Mick Wiesofer, who has that drive-through penalty, also getting involved. And just behind him, it's Mathieu Jaminet. And the view from the Maxi Boot car with less than a minute and a half of this race remaining. Christopher Mies leading the way. So out towards turn 11 go the leaders. Out of turn 12. And let's have a look, see what the gap is as they cross the start-finish line with a minute of timed racing remaining. And the gap is 4/10 of a second, 4.5 tenths over Mauro Engel. So Christopher Mies doing what he needs to do to stay in front. The first three looking pretty solid where they are. And Daniel Karlowitz getting past Dennis Marshall. And that is for 12th place. So Marshall now staring at the back of the Karlowitz Audi. And there in the background is Mathieu Jaminet up to 14th place. And to remind you that when the 14 car serves its drive-through penalty, in fact now Mick Wiesofer is behind Jaminet, so that won't have an effect on that car. But Mathieu Jaminet in the points in the SSR Performance Porsche, and that's something that looked fairly unlikely early on. So it just shows that keeping going and keeping at it is so important. Right, the clock strikes 0. So very, very shortly, we're on to the +1 lap. And there is indicated on the screen, it's Christopher Mies, who has been leading this race all the way. Second, Mauro Engel. Third, Costa Balboa. Fourth is Maxi Boot, Clemens Schmid, Janis Fischer, Jesse Krohn. So Clemens Schmid in P5. Great result there. And there you can see most of the pack coming along this stretch of track in towards turn 1. And Christopher Mies looking to have a grip on this. We're into the final lap of this race. It's been a long old slog, but we got there in the end. It has been high drama all of the way, but the Monteplas by Land Audi has looked rock solid for the entire duration. It was Ricardo Feller who started off in the driving seat after a great job in qualifying in changeable conditions. It was Christopher Mies who took over, and it's now Christopher Mies who leads the field around turn 7 for the very last time. Mathieu Jaminet still trying to pick up points, 14th place. Dennis Marshall in front, so still looking to get those positions. Hugo Sassa in 11th place with Daniel Karlowitz. Pierre Caffer's in front, Daniel Karlowitz just behind. So Hugo Sassa will be looking to hold off Daniel Karlowitz for all he's worth. But out of the final corner comes Christopher Mies. Onto the pit straight he comes. It has been a marathon afternoon. He ducks towards the checkered flag. And it's Christopher Mies who wins race 7 of this 14 race championship for Monteplas by Land, with teammate Ricardo Feller. Second place, Mauro Engel from Lucas Stoltz. And in third place, Albert Costa Balboa and Mirko Bortolotti. And there you can see, congratulations to Mirko Bortolotti. A great job for Christopher Mies and Ricardo Feller. And they become the first driver, the second driver this season to take 2 wins. The other being Mathieu Jaminet and Mikael Amamola. So they're the first drivers to score a second win apart from the SSR Performance Porsche. So that puts them very firmly up towards the top of the championship table. And we'll get confirmation of that very, very shortly. But it was a race that had all sorts of drama. It had yellow flags, safety cars, and red flags. It had a bit of everything. And it was very much about enduring to the end, keeping your head, keeping out of trouble. And that's exactly what that car there did. Christopher Mies at the wheel, who takes the win in race 1 here at Lausitzring. So there is your classification. It's Ricardo Feller and Christopher Mies who lead the way from Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel. Mirko Bortolotti, Albert Costa Balboa rounding out the top 3. There you can see the rest of the places. Marciello and Buch holding on to that 4th place. 11th place for Hugo Sassa, which makes that the best result for Max Paul and Hugo Sassa in the T3 Motorsport Lamborghini. There come the rest of them. Sven Muller, Robert Renauer down in 17th place here and very much out of the points. So into Parc Fermé we come. It feels like a long time since we were getting ready for the start of this race. Out climbs the 2nd place Mauro Engel. Once again, to remind you of that graphic that's on the track, on the screen, that tells you that €4 for each lap completed by each vehicle donated to the Be Water mission by BWT and the ADAC. So finally, Christopher Mies can breathe a sigh of relief. So Ricardo Feller comes to congratulate Christopher Mies, and of course he did much of the hard work by qualifying that car on pole position this morning. It'll be Christopher Mies' turn tomorrow morning, and he will be the driver doing the qualifying. And the question is, can Christopher Mies repeat the feat? I can't remember the last time we had repeat winners on the same weekend. It hasn't been in the last couple of years, that's for sure. But Christopher Mies and Ricardo Feller surely looking very strong and may well do that tomorrow. Albert Costa Balboa and Mirko Bortolotti really doing their championship no harm whatsoever, and cashing in very much on the disasters that have befallen Michael Ammuller and Mathieu Jaminet over the last couple of races. So there's a replay of Christopher Mies coming through the dust to collect that win, and the Monteplas by Land team celebrating in the garage. And Christopher Mies, a former champion in GT Masters, looking to help Ricardo Feller become a champion himself. So finally the drivers can relax, and very shortly we hope to bring you the podium presentation. So once again, if you stuck with us during that lengthy red flag period, thank you very much. We hope that you have enjoyed what you have seen as we look at a replay of 3rd place Mirko Bortolotti and Albert Costa Balboa in the GRT Grasser Racing Lamborghini Huracan. In 2nd place, it was the Team TalkSport WRT Mercedes AMG GT3 being driven by Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel. And the winner for the 2nd time this season in the Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi R8 LMS GT3, Ricardo Feller and Christopher Mies. So the drivers are now heading through towards the podium. You can see the clouds closing, and look at that. At the top of the points championship, it's Christopher Mies and Riccardo Fella, so that has done them the power of good. Maxi Buch and Raffaele Marciello move up into second place. Absolutely turned the championship completely upside down, has that race and the race last time out as well. Our championship leaders have gone from first down to fourth place, but there is only 12 points in it, so it's still very much all to play for. Certainly, it's not out of the question that they could be back at the top by the end of tomorrow. We are at the halfway point of the season, and at the top of the points, at the halfway point, it's Christopher Mies and Riccardo Fella.
The first one I saw nothing. With the sand?
Ah, yeah, so.
Like me last week. I was like, where's the break?
Please follow me. You have to start right away because of the TV.
So yes, you do have to start right away because of the TV. Yes, we're ready for the podium. You just heard them just comparing notes a few moments ago, but of course we have overrun somewhat. But we now get on to the podium presentation. And suddenly, the championship contenders, they've kind of come up from nowhere, really. Prior to the win at Zandvoort last time out, and they had picked up a podium in Oschersleben, but had been very much in the background, but suddenly have found some form. Of course, the Motorplast by Land team, one of the classic teams of GT Masters racing, and they will be over the moon with that. So onto the podium we come. Here comes Christopher Mies and Riccardo Fella. Second place, Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz. And there's the third place, Albert Costa Balboa and Mirko Bortolotti. And now the national anthem. So that's the national anthem done. And now the trophy presentations. And very nice trophies they are too. Tom Liebscher presenting the winner's trophy. Herman Tomczyk, the ex-president of the ADAC. Really good to see him presenting the trophies to second place. And the third place trophies, Jürgen Fabry presenting to Mirko Bortolotti and Albert Costa Balboa. And a trophy also for the winning team, Motorplast by Land. We'll have a quick moment for photos. And again, a reminder of the point standings. How dramatic is that? How close is that? It looked at one point this season as though Mathieu Jaminet and Mikael Ammuller were going to walk away with it. And that certainly has not been the case. It really is wide open. Could go anywhere. Nick Yellerly And Jesserkrone by no means out of the running either. The championship is wide open. We've still got another 7 races left this season.